So every time I was involved in building one of these platforms, I was learning something about platform building. And so, you know, you build one platform, and your first one that you're involved in building, at least this was my experience, was like, you know, you're in love with it. And then you know, I found myself, you know, holding on to that idea, this is an amazing platform. And then when I finally let go of it and I moved on to build a new one, I realized, wow, this platform, I now have an opportunity to fix all the things that I did wrong in the last one. And, you know, and that would happen over and over again. And so actually I look forward to the moment of sort of letting go of these platforms and it's, as a platform or technology builder, it's very hard to do this initially, but then it's a very emotional experience. So you think this platform is the platform, and then you get used to letting them go, and you learn more as you go down that road. So I thought it'd be very interesting if we could do something where we could provide parts that people could build platforms with, so that we'd save each other a whole lot of time, but also the massive amount of learning that we could have through that process, you know, looking at different use cases in publishing and borrowing some bits and then, you know, building a platform quicker, but also learning a lot more along the way. So PubSweet evolved out of that, like how to build this little core on which other people could build platforms, or we could build platforms, and we could learn from each other. And then, of course, the idea came about, how would you then build a community around that to share these, what you learned. So that was the initial promise, and that was illustrated in this slide that I have here, which was, I think, from 2015, which is about this idea, right? There was also another part to it too, with Plosiperta, when I designed that, designed it in such a way that it was also kind of monolithic, in that it was one application and it had these different spaces, but if you wanted to like grab one of them and change them, you more or less had to change the whole application. So I thought if you split up these component parts, you know, you'd have a much easier time just sort of upgrading one or throwing it out in favor of a better one or something like this, right? So the life of the platform could also be extended. So all these ideas make sense, but of course, you know, they're often very difficult to turn into practice, and so that's what I'm backed on with Coko from the point of its origin. And I have to say, you know, I'm not a developer, and there have been many talented people, very generous people involved in the building of PubSweet, and most core among them is Yuri Triglev, who actually took this idea, this mad idea that I had proposing, and actually started building it in JavaScript. And now that framework, the PubSweet framework, has been worked on by really a lot of people. So just to go through, you know, what a publishing platform looks like and why you can think about it in component parts, is this is kind of a high level bird's eye look at a you know, a block level architecture of what a journal platform might look like, right? So central to that journal platform is a dashboard, and around that are these component parts that, you know, you go to do something. And so the point being, when you build the publishing platform, is realize what are these spaces that you need. And I think there's a lot to be gained from being disciplined about this, and I have my own sort of philosophy about it, that you know, you decide what these common spaces are where people could go to do various operations. And you design and build as many as few as possible. So you try and get an elegant platform where there are these spaces where various operations essentially on a document and the data surrounding the document can take place, and reuse these parts by as many players as possible. So for example, in a publishing platform, if you have ingested a document of Microsoft Word file, for example, and you have it in a web-based environment, you know, you don't build a interface to view that document for the authors, for the reviewers, for the publishing staff, all the different roles of the publishing staff. You just build one, and that's what everyone looks at. And it's the same with metadata. Just build one component that shows all the metadata. Everybody's always looking at that same interface. And so the whole idea is to build these component block level parts as spaces that many people can go to operate and do the things that they need to do to improve a document or a work while they're processing it. and then they can move on to the next thing that they need to do, or somebody else can do whatever they need to do on the document. Now, this contains the idea of being able to tell people at the moment that they need to do something, notify them that they have to do it. So there's a signaling component in this as well, right? So it's not just about the architecture and making it as simple as elegant as possible, but the whole point being is that if there is a space where something can happen, like for example changing the metadata, you want to let the author know at a certain moment that now they can go there and they can make the changes and nobody else can. You can do this kind of thing. But you know, they need to know when that they have to do something, that they can now go there and do it. So within the whole environment is also built into the core this notion of this kind of collaboration, a fluid collaboration where things are moving, that people move from different spaces to do different things. But in order to do so, they're notified with a sophisticated frame that tells them, well, you can do this now, you can do this now. Once you start doing that, you can actually start moving. These kind of systems like you see here, this is a basic journal system that covers all operations of processing a journal pretty much up to the point of producing the document for display. And you could, it can encapsulate a vast number of workflows depending on when you send the signal to whom to do something, right? So getting away from this idea of a very strongly delineated linear workflows to this notion where you can have that workflow within an environment like this, but also you could change it quite easily. And the only thing that you need to do to change that is to change the notifications and how, when somebody gets something. So it kind of allows us to also optimize our workflows within the system and not have to rebuild the system to do it, right? So anyway, so all these notions were built into the core of PubSweet. So this idea is that you can have these PubSweet components. They can be dashboards. It's an old slide from 2015. You can have reviewer pages, submission pages, whatever. If you want your platform to be slightly different to somebody else's platform or a lot different, you can grab what you can reuse from them and use it in your own system to save you time and also to learn from each other. So this slide shows, basically what that looks like, in a sort of bird's eye view. You have all these different ideas of the architecture for the platform that you want, right? And these boxes are deliberately left empty so you can fill them with your need. And so we went about doing this, and this is, you have here listed eLife and Hindawi, are two organizations, very good collaborators of ours, amazing organizations. And they've used PubSweet to build their own platform, and their architecture looks substantially different, but this is all built on top of PubSweet, this common core that supports any kind of publishing workflow. And then there's another part to it, which is the smaller, these page-based components, so to speak, like a dashboard or whatever. They have smaller components that you could also reuse. And actually, the further we went down the path, we realized there was only some reuse of the sort of larger page-based components, like, for example, a login page, right? Even then, people have different requirements. Some may require ORCID login, some may not, whatever. But there's a more common use for a common login screen than there might be for your particular version of what a peer review the screen might look like. So so what we came to understand is actually it was the small parts within the pages that got had the most value for reuse. So and we called these atoms and molecules. It was from a particular document. I can't remember the name of the author, I'm sorry, and who wrote about this notion of an atom being a user interface component, which is as simple as possible, like a button, that's an atom, or a text field, whatever, and a molecule being a collection of atoms. So, a text field where you'd write something plus a button to submit it is a kind of submit a molecule. So these are the things that we started to understand became more important for reuse. Yes, Sophie says atomic design. I can't remember the author, Brad, somebody. Anyway, Brad Frost. That's right. Sophie already had it there. I didn't see it. Thank you, Sophie. Yeah, really a wonderful idea. You don't have to dive too deep in it, and he goes into a lot of other things, but this high level notion was very critical to help us along our way, and grateful actually to Paul Shannon and eLife for bringing that idea to our attention. And that, you know, that also, by mentioning that, just goes to show, you know, that this whole thing has been a collaboration and learning from each other. So since then, PubSweet has really lived up to its promise, which is extremely satisfying. So there's about 12 or so platforms that have been built with PubSweet, and so these platforms support a vast variety of publishing workflows in the scholarly communication space. But it's also important to note you could use it for any kind of publishing. Anyone that's worked within a small or medium-sized organization and larger outside scholarly communications knows that if you produce a document, you are following a publishing workflow. It's just that you don't have the tools to do it. And you use email and Word or whatever, which is, by the way, what often happens in the scholarly communication space as well. So there's very little difference between the two situations. So, you know, we have built all of these platforms here exist within the scholarly communication space, but there's no reason why they can't apply anywhere else, or you could build another workflow that's not scholarly communications but suits some other idea of document processing and build it on top of PubSweet. So the platforms that were built, you can see them listed here. There's the Hindawi phenome. You can find this online. It's what Hindawi is using as its primary tool for its journals. You can see here Libro Reviewer, which is a submission front end that eLife has built for its current submission process. SimpleJ, which is a journal platform being built by Coko, which is mostly done, but it's not a production. We are not a publisher, but we're building this as a vision of what journal publishing should be, or could be, I should say, and it contains a lot of things like concurrent editing of a document, live chat, video chat, and a whole lot of other things. Very simplified workflow. And I talked about that the other day. You can see my other talk, Emergency Response Publishing. Digital Science build a journal system for Physiome, a New Zealand journal, very interesting use case. And then there's Editoria for books. There's Editoria micropublications system currently being built. There's a Wormbase system, well, I should say micropublication.org system, which is a micropublications platform. Europe PMC, the documents processed through there is built on top of PubSweet system built by EBI, and it's for content aggregation. Plumi is a French government platform used for judicial reviews. There's Digital Science built another workflow for awards, all built on top of PubSweet, awards processing, and then NCBI are rebuilding their current system which is called Bookshelf. Now, just want to highlight in here that Coko has a team of developers, and we build platforms for people as well as Coko builds community around platforms, right? So you can see here that some of these, and for some reason my screen is black and white, I can't, it doesn't color them nicely, but for me, but you can see that some of these are community built platforms, and some of them are platforms that the Coko team has built itself. And some of them we've assisted as well. Obviously, we've been involved in all of these platforms and assisting in some way. We have very much an open door and a policy of always helping people whenever anything's asked. There's none of these platforms have we not been involved in to some level. But I highlight EBI here because we helped them rethink the design of their platform before they started building it. Not trying to claim credit for their build, they built it all themselves. It's a fantastic project, but we were quite heavily involved in the beginning. And so what we've built is the Coko development team is SimpleJ, Editoria, a very sophisticated book production platform, Aperture currently being built, the micropublications.org, micropublication.org workflow system, which is currently being used by them, also built by Coko, and we're currently building for NCBI their bookshelf project. So I'm mentioning these because it's a hybrid process where if you want to build a platform and you have a team, we'll help you as much as we can. If you want to build a platform and you haven't got a team or your team is busy, then you can come to us and we'll build it. We can build it, and we build it very cost efficiently. We're mission driven. We're not for profit. If you're not for profit, then we can really build something for you very fast and very cost effectively. One of the things to note here is that these platforms being in production went into production very quickly, being used by publishers very quickly. So, for example, Hindawi had their first journal in the system within 9 months. It's roughly the same also for eLife and EBI. So the point being is that it was once speculated. There's been a lot of failures in this space, especially around journals, and there are often speculation that it's an intractable problem. You can't build a platform, a journal platform, which is absurd. But one of the things that this kind of narrative highlights is that a lot of people that have tried and failed, but they're all siloed away in the various organizations, and they haven't been communicating with each other, which is certainly also what I experienced. And so, by building community around this, we can learn from each other and we can build together and we can build smarter. And so I think that's very much part of this story. A lot of the reason why these organizations were able to have something in production so quickly, under 12 months for a publishing platform is just unbelievably fast, is because they're learning from each other. They're reusing a lot of the same stuff in terms of the PubSweet core. And not to say that they also know what they're doing. They knew their workflows, which is an important part of it. All right, so I'm going to close up pretty soon and just open it up for conversation. I just want to show you a few screenshots. This is your PMC. So this is what it looks like in reality, right? I haven't got all the screenshots from all the platforms, but just to show you, this is what it means. This is like I've got you eNPC. So your PMC platform. There's the screenshots from that. You can see the next one, Physium, digital science. So these are modern-looking interfaces, and you can also see that they look differently. These are all built on top of PubSweet, and often using some of the reusing component parts, but they look quite different. So there's also been a lot of time spent thinking about theming, things like this. But also you can really have your own vision of what your platform should look like, and you can build it on top of PubSweet. So that's micropublication.org. It's a Hindawi phenome. Everyone's got their own take, their own needs, and they've built their own platforms. The Libra reviewer interfaces. And let's see, it's a little bit slow, this paging on the slide. Simple J, there's actually a little bit old, these screenshots. There's some more in the previous talk. Editoria for book production, etc. So so if you want a platform built, either in the sense that you're going to build it and you want to do it quickly and efficiently, and you want to help change publishing, then give us a call. We can help a great deal. And if you want us to build it, we can also help. So we're in the sector mission driven to make as many publishing platforms as possible, so that we can continually improve and evolve ideas about what publishing can be. And the more people we're engaged with, more use cases, more sharing that goes on of parts and knowledge about how to do these things, the faster we're going to continue to be able to build things and just make better platforms, which has the end goal of improving the way publishing works. All right, so that's it from me. A very snappy 28 minutes. I'm eyeing up my cup of tea, which is good. Still warm, I think. Does anybody have anything to say or questions? more than welcome to either speak them out loud or put them in the chat. I see Will and Laurent. I'm wondering if it's my old buddy Laurent from Internews. What kind of format do you find for manuscripts? So remembering that anybody can build any kind of system that they want, right? So Europe PMC process XML documents, and so does NCBI, and Europe PMC for journals, NCBI for books, so dealing with bits, for example. And then micropublications ask you to effectively originally author the content within the system. Editoria enables you to do that, or you can ingest Microsoft Word files. So the point being is that you've got to think about PubSweet as being this kind of like this open-ended proposition to have the workflow of your dreams based around your needs. So if you wanted to build LaTeX processing into it, you could do so. If you wanted to build something like a system for RStudio processing of documents, you could do this. So there's it's really up to you. So the diversity is exists insofar as you have a use case. I hope that answers your question, Laurent. Please feel free to put more information in there if it doesn't. Will Anderson, is there any collaboration between the PubSweet journals related work and the folks working on OwnJS? Well, we've tried that, but we both organizations are very close to each other. We talk a lot, but there hasn't been collaboration between the two. And I think there's different technologies under the hood, and OwnJS is kind of a fully baked system. We're very modular, extensible systems. So we did try many years ago seriously to get there, but it just didn't work. Maybe it'll work again in the future. Who knows? I think that there's been certain parts of things that we've been involved in building that OwnJS has been interested in, but I don't know if they've picked them up. Another project I work on is Page.js. I think they're thinking about using that, or put their head into the Page.js rooms to see what's going on. But yeah, I can't. I haven't followed it recently. But yeah, we love PKP. Awesome people, awesome project. But no, we haven't collaborated substantively on anything. How does the theming work, says Sophie? Is it set up that it's easy for designers to jump into theming? It's pretty good, although it always has room to be improved. And Julian, right from the beginning, there's also a philosophy embedded within PubSweet, which is about open source as being, it's not a developer-led thing. It should be open source should involve all stakeholders, people who use software, people who build software, and designers, and also project managers, whoever. This is a complicated ecosystem that goes into making software. So right from the very beginning, we try to have a diversity of voices involved in PubSweet, and so design was one of those very important elements we wanted to have included, and we included designers in the building of PubSweet from the beginning. So I think it's pretty good, but it can always be improved. But I would say that about anything about any system that you ask me about. Yeah. I think Sophie's going to ask something else. While Sophie's typing, don't hurry, Sophie. I'll show you. Coko also develops or helps evolve communities. We like saying software is a conversation. That software isn't something someone does for you, or you do for others. That it's a conversation, and out of that conversation evolves software. So community has been very heart and soul to what we do, and so I'm just going to page through a few of the meetings that we've put on, and obviously we're involved in developing community on a high level as well. Most notable with the Open Publishing Fest and the Open Publishing Awards. We very much believe that, although in any sector there's always, politics and competition and blah, 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 within this sector, it's true. Within open access, it's true. Within open source and any combination of the two, that those things exist. But even so, if we were to throw, the net wider and be more inclusive with each other and more communicative with each other, we would all gain from that. So that's very much what we're focused on at Coko. Is like we are happy to promote you and provide a platform for you, even if you're a direct competition for us in the same space. We don't think that people should be selfish with these things. We all can gain by promoting each other. Yeah, so Will says, is Libero a simple J to the point of having vendors who would host on behalf of a non-technical group? A Libero is just a submission. Well, Libero reviewer is. I don't think Libero is there yet, but they're on their way as a full ecosystem. And they have a lot of vendors that they have been working with very closely, like Digerati, awesome bunch of people. But I don't think all the component parts are there yet for a full journal processing system. And a simple J, you could use it now, but it needs some work still. But we are in conversations around what it would look like for the hosting and deployment of that in an automated fashion in a very cost-effective way. Mainly linked to the previous talk that I did this week about emergency response publishing, which is a combination of, if you want to radically optimize publishing workflows in the journal space, I think really working with how people work as well as a technology that gets out of the way and sort of enables fluent collaboration is kind of the secret. And so Simple J is going in that direction. We're proposing it as it's a very modern take of what publishing could be, workflows could be, and we have been asked by an organisation to partner in that. But always open to those that want to collaborate and be involved. I'll just page a little bit through this. You're welcome, Will and Sophie and Magdalena. This is just to show you, what some of the community events look like. We like to have fun, I have to say. If this was just a technology project, I don't think any of us would want to be involved. I mean, this is really technology plus people, and so we have dinners. Our events are really fun events, very informative, very educational, and a lot of sharing and generosity involved. Yeah, anyway, so that's that. I give another 30 seconds if anybody wants to ask anything or say anything. I'm very happy that you all attended. Thank you very much. You can always contact me at adam@coko.foundation, coko.foundation. And I think Julian's typing something. That's probably Coko Julian. Oh, and join Mattermost. You can join Mattermost. We have Mattermost is a version of, I shouldn't say a version of, Slack is a poor clone of the wonderful open source software called Mattermost, which is a chat software. And if you go to Mattermost, Mattermost.coko.foundation, that's our hangout. And you can ask anything there. And there's like 500 people in there now, so and it's a nice place to hang out. Yeah, Julian's just provided it. Great. Thanks very much. Appreciate you coming, and thank you for the discussion. Very happy to continue it with anybody afterwards as well. Just email me, adam@coko.foundation. Thanks. I'll sign it off there. Ciao.